What up? It's your boy 9, and I'm back with another episode of the 89 Cast. Today, I'm gonna talk about a few things. We're gonna kind of take the old style approach. I've done a couple of the video essay episodes just to try it out. I did it a few times over the course of the 89 Cast, but every now and then I'll just do a video essay if I'm in the mood for that. But sometimes I'll do the lives, which I don't think I'm doing the lives as much anymore, just because of how it's hard to edit those lives because, jumping back and forth, whatever. I can still get clips out of them, but I do sometimes want to do this. Sometimes I want to do the video essay. Sometimes I want to just do the old school way of me just going through some topics and then whatever. So I'll jump around, but it'll always be the 89 Cast. It'll always be me just talking about whatever's happening or whatever I want to have a conversation about, whether it's on a philosophical thing, a psychological thing, hip hop, music in general, all these different things. But today we're going to do a little old style where I have multiple topics and we're just going to kind of hit them. These are things that's been on my mind, things I've been thinking about over the course of a few weeks since maybe the last 89 Cast, whatever like that. And I wrote some scripts for some things, and then I kind of like scrapped them, like did whole videos, and was like, nah, I don't want to. I'm not feeling it no more, or there's just a lot of work that has to go into it that I don't have the time for, and I don't want to take too many big spaces. It's just multiple things to where it's just like, okay, now I'm not going to do that, but I do want to talk about that. I'm not going to do that. So when I have those moments like that, I guess this is the best time to just be like, all right, let's just hit these points. So let's first talk about, maybe it was a week ago. I feel like it was a week ago, maybe a few days ago. Rory from the Rory and Maul podcast. From the timeline that I'm not tapped in with them, I'll try to avoid. I won't say try to avoid. I just don't listen to them. It's not like I go out my way to avoid it. I'm just not interested in anything that any of that side of hip hop has to say. So I don't really engage in it like that. But I do see clips sometimes, and I know people that listen to them and they try and whatever. From the timeline that I'm aware of, there was a conversation, which we're going to talk about this conversation itself, like not their specific conversation, but the conversation that people have been trying to have about this thing. But from what I can tell, I think the conversation had something to do with, like, maybe they were talking about Kendrick and the Clipse and who deserves to win it, who doesn't deserve to win it. And I guess maybe the conversation steered a little bit towards, like, some people being a little bit too emotionally. And then that's the thing that I keep noticing, and I don't understand it. Some people some do it with Drake too. But Kendrick is different for me because Kendrick doesn't do anything. Kendrick doesn't, like, he just makes music. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like the emotional hatred or the emotional, just how emotion, and I think it's a soul thing. I think like a lot of what Kendrick was doing last year or whatever like that spoke to the soul, spoke to just a feeling that most people aren't trying to touch on regularly, which Kendrick always does that. But something about Kendrick, just certain people, it irks them so much. So one of I think it was the girl, was just very passionate. Maybe it wasn't that episode, but it was at some point very passionate about how much she dislikes Kendrick's music or dislikes his voice and dislikes the way he raps. And like she was very, like she was going to cry, how passionate she got. And then, the conversation also was about, Clipse deserves this and that, and Kendrick, all these things. So from what my understanding of it is, Kendrick fans, which I'm not for, Kendrick fans decided to dig on Rory, because I guess Rory might have said something, dig on Rory, and found that he was saying some anti-black, misogynoir tweets that were never deleted or whatever like that, where he was basically talking about Beyonce is a hood rat name and all these things like that, talking about black women with hair, and I've never seen a good black, attractive black, whatever the fuck the things that he was saying. And people was trying to get him to clean it up, and that was the biggest issue, and that's always the biggest issue. Why? I don't understand. When these people, when white people, even if it's in the past or in the present, whatever like that, why do we always want to, what's the saying? If someone tells you who they really are, it's best you believe them, right? So why do we always, especially when it comes to when white folks step out of line in our culture, we always want to give them platforms to explain themselves and allow them platforms. Like we always want to, we gave you a chance by letting you in the first place, and then you did or said some fuck shit, and now we're giving you a second chance to explain yourself, and then we decide whether or not your second chance is worth So he was kind of joking around and being dismissive and kind of gaslighting the situation, which is what they commonly do whenever they get addressed for some anti-black or misogynoir things. And this just has to create the bigger discussion of why do we let this happen every single time? Every single time. I'm not saying we shouldn't allow these people in the culture, but there always is this thing we love to do where we would like to give them power and control and platform. I'm not saying like Rory and Maul ain't the biggest podcast or whatever like that, but it's not like we just accept them as, oh yeah, you fuck with the culture and this and that. We like to put them on a pedestal for basic knowledge of black culture, basic knowledge or basic outward performance of black culture. We like to put them above the people that actually created the things. And then when they do some fuck shit, we act like we can take it away, but we gave them too much in the first place. So I'm not saying Rory should have never had, like, I don't think he's racist. Ignorant and racist don't always have to be the same thing. You understand what I'm saying? Especially, like, this goes to the Tyler Creator conversation, which I don't think I talked about, but the Tyler Creator conversation. The internet in the early 2010s was very just off the wall crazy. Everybody was just saying whatever the fuck, which is why when people kept trying to talk about, oh, Tyler Creator's tweets and what about this, what about that? If you existed on the internet in the late 2000s, early 2010s, YouTube was filled with people talking like that. Twitter was filled with people talking like that. Facebook was filled with people talking like that. That was the internet culture, and that still is to this day internet culture. We don't go after the people that do it today. We go after the people that did it back then and grew up. But no, you're not allowed to grow up. We remember who you were. You were just like the people today. I still do think that outside of just this Rory situation, there just needs to be some type of, I hate to say it because people like to hate to say this word, gatekeeping. We need to stop being so open and friendly to people that have never been open and friendly to us. You understand what I'm saying? And that doesn't apply to Rory, but that just applies to the bigger issue that keeps going on. I just saw a clip of Jack Harlow rapping a song and saying nigga or whatever like that. They have Benny the Butcher, which is goes into my thing that we constantly do this. Why do rappers have this obsession when they're doing songs at concert, when they're performing songs at concert, they have this obsession with grabbing a white person out of the crowd, knowing the song that I'm about to perform has the N-word in there, and then bringing them on stage to rap the song with me. I don't know why rappers have this obsession. I understand white people are the biggest consumers of hip-hop. White people buy a lot of the tickets. There's some black person somewhere in there. We always overlook the black person. We never pull a black brother or black sister on stage to perform unless you're an R&B singer and then you want to sexualize the black woman or whatever like that. Or some female R&B singers do the same thing to black men. We have this obsession with grabbing white dudes, white girls out of the crowd and having them perform these rap songs and then look stupid in the face when people be like, hey, why you let this man say nigga? Why you let this girl say nigga? You know what I'm saying? Kendrick talked about it on the song, but I saw Benny the Butcher do this. And it's just like, we got to understand that we have to, boundaries exist for a reason. We have to understand, we have to establish these boundaries in these relationships. These people feel like they can overstep boundaries whenever the fuck they want. That's just the Eurocentric mindset that they have. We don't have to respect nothing that you contributed because it's all ours. Everything belongs to us at the end of the day. So we don't care if you created it and you want to gatekeep it. No, if we want to be over there, then we're going to be over there. But we can't do the same thing. It's not a balanced relationship, yet we try to act like it is. It's not. They want to be a part of us. They want to get our money. They want to mess with our women. They want to make our music. They want to make our art. They want to steal it. They want to do all these things. But then when it comes to the reverse, when Beyonce wants to make country music, even though country music comes from blues, which is black art, when Beyonce wants to make country music, all of a sudden we have to create a whole new genre of country, a whole new subsegment of country for the Grammys to separate contemporary country, which is black country, from traditional country, which is white country, even though traditional country is black country. But this is just a bigger conversation about how we gotta stop this shit. I know me just saying it isn't going to change anything, but this is going to keep happening. As long as we keep just being like, oh, he like rap music. Oh, he know lyrics to a rap song. Oh, he know how to dance. He one of us. The whole fucking, the cookout shit. Oh, he's invited to the cookout now. No, some of y'all ain't invited to the cookout. So stop inviting these random, white folks to the cookout because they talk and walk like we act and talk the way we talk because of the community and the environments that we come from, which has a lot to do with the system and how certain people's education is worth more than other people's education. So if it's a suburban kid that went to a good school, just so happen to like hip hop and knows how to talk and mimic the lingo of somebody from the urban community, that doesn't mean they should be invited to the urban community. That doesn't mean that they should be invited to be at the cookout because they know how to emulate people that actually are products of a struggle, products of an experience, products of a system that he will never understand. But anyways, let's go on to the next one. This Clipse and GNX conversation, which I kind of touched on a few minutes ago. I don't understand why this is a conversation. And this goes into this internal fight that they're trying to manufacture in hip hop. Because hip hop is trying to move away from the bullshit. We want to still create conflict. We still want to still create division. So people are trying to have this conversation of who deserves Rap Album of the Year, Clipse or GNX. But when you look at the nominations, and this is my quick point, and this is all I really want to say about it. Clipse and GNX exist in two categories: Rap Album of the Year and Album of the Year. The impact that the Clipse had on hip hop this year deserves to be rewarded. Deserves to be rewarded. The rollout, the Malice going crazy on everything, like that deserves to be rewarded. Give them Rap Album of the Year because that impact existed in hip hop. But GNX, on the other hand, exceeded hip hop. That album not only was a successful rap album, had multiple hit records on it. You're talking about Peekaboo, you're talking about Luther, you're talking about Squabble Up, you're talking about did I say TV Off? TV Off, Peekaboo, Squabble Up, Luther. Yeah, you're talking about those songs. Those songs existed outside of hip hop culture. We're talking about songs that were performed at the Super Bowl. This man performed at the Super Bowl. You understand what I'm saying? This man literally shifted the whole culture off of that project when you think about it. Like after that, they got certain rappers that are scared, rappers that was trying to drop singles and drop albums so repeatedly for the past couple years are now scared to drop because Kendrick changed what people want from hip hop. That deserves Album of the Year. Both can win. Two people can win. But we keep acting like it's a battle. And I feel like it's trying to create this conflict, create this division, create this fight between two people that are literally on the same team. Pusha T said it in one, I think it was the interview with Joe Budden or whatever like that, where he was like, Me and Kendrick, we on the same type of time. He built like I'm built. That's why we connect. That's why I supported him with what he was doing, and he supported us with what we doing, because we all have that same thing about us. Both can be rewarded. They're literally in two categories. GNX can win album of the year, and Clipse can win rap album of the year. Everything be fine. But we want to keep having this discussion about, oh, did GNX age poorly? And oh, maybe Clipse deserves it more than GNX. And oh, this and that. And just like, none of that, none of those conversations are relevant, because literally they can both win. Let's go on to the next one. Rap fatigue conversation. Right now, I was just watching a video. I think it was Sean C talking about it. And me, where my brain has been, where my focus has been over the past however so many months or weeks or whatever like that, it's just gaining information within hip hop, within music, outside of hip hop and music, whether it's, spiritual, philosophical. I'm just been into the mode of gaining information. You understand what I'm saying? So these conversations that's on TikTok, I don't have TikTok. Well, I do have TikTok, but I don't be on TikTok. These conversations people have been having about rap fatigue and there's so much this and that. Don't confuse my video a few weeks ago with a rap fatigue conversation. My conversation was never about what the rappers are doing. It's about what the consumers are doing. My entire point was about the fact that we decide to keep on giving attention to the music and the art and the people that have no benefit to us. You understand what I'm saying? My argument is never to limit the art that the artists are making. If you want to rap about women, clothes, all that shit like that, go ahead and knock yourself out. We got to decide as consumers, but I'm also an artist myself, but as consumers have to decide when enough is enough. And I'm not going to say enough is enough, but we have to decide. We have to realize we have way more options than that. We like to give all the attention to the ignorance, all the attention to the hyper-capitalistic and misogynistic music as if there's no other music, yet encapsulate hip-hop as a whole as that genre of music. And that's what's going on in this rap fatigue conversation. I was having this conversation a few weeks ago, and that was my point of the conversation. When we was talking about, even it goes into the top 40 conversation. People are trying to make a point about, oh, rap's not in the top 40 because it's dying off and because it's that. Who cares what's in the top 40 and not in the top 40, especially when it comes to hip-hop? If you're looking for rap to be in the top 40, which right now Gun is in the top 40, a few weeks ago Megan was in the top 40. If you're looking for something to be in the top 40, that means you're not looking enough into hip hop. You're looking for basis, surface level hip hop. And if you're looking for surface level hip hop, then you cannot complain about the substance of the surface level hip hop you choose to consume. You understand what I'm saying? These people are complaining, saying, oh yeah, I was listening to Lil Baby, I was listening to Drake, I was listening to Moneybagg Yo, and these are all these people. And I stopped listening to them for a little bit, and I realized how bad hip hop, how bad rap is, and how this and that, and all these different things. It's just like, that is a personal and psychological thing that has nothing to do with the art that's being created. You personally and psychologically feel that the content that they're creating is bad for you. But guess what? That is not a representation of the entirety of hip hop, because there's music that talks about anything and everything that you may want them to talk about. If you want to talk about pro-femininity, anti-misogyny, and you want to talk about social justice and all these things, there's rappers that do the exact thing. But guess what? You same mainstream artists talking about rap fatigue are the same ones that be on Twitter complaining about, I don't want to hear this Harriet Tubman music. Nobody to get the hoes music and this and that. You got to pick a side. You have to pick a side. You can't argue about the lack of substance that exists in hip hop while also complaining that the hip hop that has substance isn't appealing to a certain demographic. It ain't playing it in the clubs. They ain't getting the hoes dancing, scared of hoes music. You can't have both. And that's the biggest issue, is instead of realizing that your issue with music, your issue with the consumption of your music is your problem, you want to blame the entire genre of music for that. Nobody talks about country like this. Nobody talks about pop music like this. Some people do, who are more critical about music in general, but you can't. But the fact that we look for a specific type of thing from specific rappers, and if they don't cater to our specific needs as consumers, we blame the entire genre. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. But we only do it with, and I saw somebody try and lump R&B in there too. They said trap, rap, and R&B. What does R&B have to do with it? At that point, if you're lumping hip hop and R&B and saying the problem about the lack of substance is only within rap and R&B, then you're basically saying black art as it exists today is the problem. And it's not. You're the problem. But it goes to hyper-individualism. It goes to lack of accountability. Some people don't want to take responsibility for the fact that you may not know as much about music as you think you do. You may not be as into music as you think you are. And you may not take the time. Like, when you say things like this, your words are incredible. Because if you're only consuming service level music, if you're only putting on rap playlists to see what's going on in rap, then you're literally only consuming what they want you to consume. Who is they? The labels. The people that want to push a certain image and push a certain agenda. But you're saying that the agenda that's being pushed is an issue with hip hop. No, it's not. Because the label owners aren't rappers. The label owners aren't hip hop artists. They are super rich white men that have nothing and know nothing about hip hop, that are just pushing what they think will appeal to the wider demographic. Who's the wider demographic? Who are the biggest consumers of hip hop? I spoke about it earlier. White people. And white people don't want to hear about social justice from black people. White people don't want to hear about all this anti-misogyny, anti-misogyny. Well, they want to hear exactly what they already think. And they already think we killing each other, we doing drugs, we hate our women, we do this, we do that, we go to jail, that's what they want to hear. So when you hear pro-black music, guess what? The white demographic doesn't want to hear that. That's not a hip-hop problem. That is a capitalistic, patriarchal, white supremacist society problem. You're blaming the oppressed for how the oppressor is promoting us to the other oppressors. And then my final thing, which kind of encapsulates everything into one. We have to decide whether we want their validation or not. We can't just keep picking and choosing whenever it fits the conversation, whether or not we care or don't care about certain things and certain people's opinions and certain metrics that should or shouldn't matter to the culture of hip hop or to black culture whatsoever. This goes into the conversation about hip hop in Billboard Top 40. I thought we didn't care about Billboard. We were saying that for a long time. Kendrick fans were saying, who cares about Billboard? Who cares that Drake has this and that? Billboard can't tell you what really impacts the culture and this and that. Jay-Z, I think, also said that. When did we ever go to Billboard for what's hot or whatever like that? Like, I thought we didn't care about Billboard. And then on the opposite end, this conversation about the Grammys and who deserves a Grammy and who doesn't deserve a Grammy. And, oh, this person has too many and this person doesn't have too many. I thought we didn't care about the Grammys. Once again, in that same conversation, and that's the greatest thing about the Drake-Kendrick beef is that it was so many conversations being had in that one debate. It wasn't just one thing. It was a conversation about capitalism. It was a conversation about what validates great art and what validates cultural appropriation versus actually being a part of the culture and all these things like that. Like, there were so many conversations. But in that Drake-Kendrick conversation, when people kept on mentioning, yeah, Drake has the hits, but Kendrick has the Grammys, people said, who gives a fuck about the Grammys? That's white people metrics. But Billboard is also white people metrics. When, for something to go number one in Billboard, that means that the majority of in some way, it doesn't mean directly, it can be through radio, it can be through being played in grocery stores or being played in restaurants, or somehow it's in circulation. For something to go number one on Billboard, it has to have reached the wider demographic. Who's the wider demographic? It's the 59 or 60% of the population, which is who? White people. So once again, if we're saying the Grammys don't matter because that's white people shit, but then saying, oh, this person has all these number one hits, even though the number one hits basically just, the Billboard basically just tracks and has historically just tracked what appeals the most to the white audience. And I've done a whole lot of research on the history of Billboard and all stuff like that, and how there's just so many different things that go into how Billboard is functioning. It's always functioned in a way where we have black artists, we have white artists. They're separate. They will be looked at in different metrics, and certain rules will change to benefit whatever the industry wants us to start pushing towards. So once again, why does Billboard matter? Billboard doesn't if Billboard is willing to tell you that if a song has been hot for too long, we will take it off the Billboard charts, then that tells you that it doesn't really measure what people are listening to. It measures what we want you to think people are listening to. You understand what I'm saying? It measures what the money is being put behind, what the industry wants you to get behind. It doesn't measure literally what the consumer themselves want, are listening to, or get it behind. Because a song could be super hot in hip hop and never touch the top 40. And it has historically, that has been the case. Some of the biggest hip hop songs were not top 40 records. So once again, we have to decide which one we want. Do we want to be like, this is our culture and we get to determine what's hot? Do we want music to be a democracy? Which maybe it shouldn't, but do we want to be able to be the ones to determine what's hot in music, or do we want Billboard to determine what's hot for us? Do we want the Grammys to tell us what's good? Do we want our algorithms to keep telling us what's good? Or are we going to just take the autonomy ourselves and be like, all right, I'm going to establish what's good? We keep wanting to have these conversations about what the artists that we apparently don't like are doing. Why the fuck are you listening to them? Go listen to what you like. Nobody asked you to listen to that, but you want to have these deep conversations about artists you don't listen to. Now, I can have these conversations because I am an artist. And once again, my conversation was about this exact point. People are choosing to keep interacting with this type of music, choosing to keep platforming these type of artists and this type of music, whatever like that, yet complain about the effects of that art, of what they decide to consume, or what they decide to platform, what they decide to give their attention to. That is a you thing. These things, if you stop paying attention to it, it's still going to exist, but it's not going to be that much of a bother to you. Me, as an artist myself, I create music across every type of aspect when it comes to hip hop. I'm going to talk about whatever's on my mind, whatever's on my soul. There's nothing that's going to stop me from saying what I need to say musically. Not every artist maneuvers that way. So go look for the artists that are willing to be like, fuck the system, fuck what's hot, what's trendy. I have this on my mind. I have this on my soul. It may not have nothing to do with killing another nigga or selling drugs or this or that. It may have to do with something that's a little bit more intellectually challenging. Go look for those type of artists because they're all over the place. Stop looking for the mainstream one-dimensional artists and then complaining that the entirety of hip hop is one-dimensional. Because once again, you're only consuming what they want you to consume. And do you want their validation? Do you want their approval? Do you want to keep giving them money or not? You have to make a choice. Because we can't keep saying the problem of the black community is what the white man keeps on promoting, but not blaming the white man, blaming the artist that's just making music. But that's it for me. I'll be back. We'll see what happens within the next week. shit is crazy out here. There's a lot to talk about. Shit is really crazy. That's why it took me a little gap in between, because there's so much going on so fast, bro. Like, this year's almost over. A whole lot has happened this year, and I'm like still trying to come to the realization about how much happened this year. But yeah, that's it for me. I don't know. Like, share, subscribe. I always forget to say that. Too sweet. Deuces.